how come somebody doesn't make it here, Al? Well, because they're not coachable, or they don't work hard, or they quit too early. They literally quit too early. They don't give themselves enough chances. So if we're talking about leads, one of the analogies I give is making free throws. There's two lines. One with you have to make 5 baskets, okay, to win $10,000. There's one line that has 10 balls in it and another line that has 50 in it. You have to make 5. Which line are you getting in? Well, I'm getting in the line with 50 because I got more chances, buy more leads. Okay, that's the whole key to this thing.
I'm like, what's the dream of? What's the hope in? What's the doubt for? Live to no end. This is living. The life I've been given is a gift. If I'm a living, I'm a live with the death. So what's the dream of? What's the hope in? What's the doubt for? And live to no end. This is living. The life I've been given is a gift. If I'm a living, I'm a live with the death. Yeah.
All right, welcome everybody to the Living Hope Agency call. I'm super excited to have our special guest on here tonight. Industry veteran, somebody who has been in the financial planning world, and he'll give you kind of his background. This business is not just for people who are looking for, the next big sales opportunity. It's also for people who have already been successful in business. And that's just Al. Al comes from a successful background in the financial space. And he's someone who is attracted to this opportunity because he understands good opportunities. So I'm so excited to have Al on here. We're going to learn a little bit about his background, his story. But then we're also going to hear some of his, tips on how to be a top producer and recruit at a high level. So Al, did you make it on?
I'm on. Thanks for having me, Jamie.
Hey, thanks for coming, man. You got some bears behind you, man. You better watch out.
I know we're in grizzly territory, so it's my tenacious background there.
So for anybody that doesn't know you, where's grizzly territory? Where are you calling out from?
I live in North Idaho.
Okay, North Idaho.
Couple hours south of the Canadian border.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, I'd love if you could just give us your quick background. There's some people that know you, some people in your group that are on here, but a lot of people who they don't know you, they don't know your background, they don't know your experience here with FFL, as well as your experience before FFL. And I think that's really going to kind of build up, why FFL is such a great opportunity to recruit to, because like I said, you're somebody who, you saw the value in a great opportunity, and that's why you're here. And that's why you're working so hard to build this agency. And that's why you put some of your past businesses behind you to be here. And I think just giving people your background will get them to understand how, we say hashtag, best business ever, hearing your background, I think will help them understand why you're here.
Right on. So, I've been licensed since 1987. So a super long time. Started with actually a practice company who, Sean references quite a bit, and they built this massive dynasty in the industry and were a disruptor, so to speak, back in the day. Problem was nobody made any money, including me. So I made a decision to go ahead and get my securities license and work for a big Wall Street firm. I worked for Smith Barney for a number of years. And so I manage money for retirees and business owners. I still have a small book of business of folks that I've had forever. So I still do that. But because of that initial introduction, I've had this vision that I thought I could build an insurance agency. And so that's always just kind of crept there. And so several years ago, before Family First Life, I actually tried to do it again. And I actually hired like 5 agents, but I had no clue what I was doing, didn't have the structure, and it just basically flopped. And then coming up 4 years, I was introduced to Andrew through a friend of my son's. And so I went up and interviewed Andrew, right? Making sure, I didn't know anything about Family First Life. And so I started there, and so what's interesting is, so I said, okay, if I'm going to do this, I got to get out in the field. And again, I had experience in the financial markets, managing money. We do a little bit of insurance, but it wasn't nothing like final expense, nothing like mortgage protection, anything like that. So I said, well, if I'm going to do this and I want to build an agency, I've got to get out in the field. So I went and ran business. And Andrew was actually one of the people that I would call when I was in the home. And I can remember one specific example where he saved me and I made a huge sale one day, and thank God he picked up the phone. So, and helped me. That's kind of my background. If that gives you, and things have gone pretty well since I've come over here, and we're just trying to rock and roll. We're very thankful to be merged with you guys. It's just going to bring a lot for both of us, I think, in order to exponentially grow. I'm like 110% convinced that's what's going to happen.
Love it, man. So you got a team of about 60 producing agents on a monthly basis. You're also going out there and you're helping between 20 and 30 families a month. You started out running in the field, doing final expense. Now you're pretty much exclusively selling over the phone because you're out in Idaho, a lot of snow, not a lot of leads, and you're also building a massive agency. Before we kind of get into kind of your specialty, which is really some of those recruiting word tracks and where you're finding some of these cold market people, which I know so many people are interested in, what was it specifically that you saw about FFL where you were like, okay, this is the business that I want to I want to tie my future towards?
Well, I think first of all, it was that I wanted to see Andrew belly to belly, and he conveyed a strong level of confidence, right, for a young guy, because I think at the time he was only 27, something like that, and the systems that they had in place, obviously the high compensation, and at that point in time, I was at the right place at the right time. I really wanted to make this. I really wanted to give it a really 110% shot, see if I could make it happen.
Love it, man.
So that one of the things that was instrumental was for me to make the decision to go into the field and get that experience, because as we all know, the underwriting is so important when we're talking to people and having that down. I don't know everything, but I would say that 98% of the underwriting circumstances come up and I already know the answer and which direction I'm going to go. So that can only happen from the experience. One of the best decisions I made was to jump. Within 6 months, I initiated and made a choice again to have a proactive recruiting campaign. Andrew had this deal where he was on ZipRecruiter and subsidized it, and all these people were on there until finally, unfortunately, there was a lot of folks that just didn't pay their bill. And he said, okay, screw it, I'm cutting the cord. You guys are on their own. Best thing that ever happened to me, because then I had to go initiate my own program. So I've been on Zip ever since. So and I got started in April of 18. So by, I'm going to say October, November, I had my own Zip campaign. And then that's just, I've kind of evolved and feel like I got a pretty good system down using Zip now.
I love it, man. And we'll dig into what you're specifically doing, what kind of ads you're putting out there, and kind of your recommendations for someone who maybe wants to dive in, but not get too far in over their head. But I think the big thing, kind of just like theme wise, that I want to, paint the picture of for you guys here is that there's really like two different types of people that you're going to recruit in this business. And it's not just, licensed, unlicensed. There's two different types of people, and it's like two different types of stories. So there's one story, which is, if he can do it, I can do it. That's one story. And on the other side, it's, if it's good enough for him, it's good enough for me. Okay. And I think that these are the two types of people you can attract into this business. You look and you see someone who is already successful in business, and sometimes we wonder, could I recruit that person? But that person, they value good opportunities. And I can't harp on that enough. And when you're able to recruit someone like that, they attract more people like that. And then when you take somebody where it's the other side of the story, which is, if he can do it, I can do it. You take a Mike Curry, for instance, and that's, I'm not, Mike Curry, I look at him and he was someone who did not have any business, acumen before this. And he'll openly admit that he was, repairing appliances. And so many people are inspired by his story, and they look at him and they say, if he can do it, I can do it. And that's kind of where, I see my story as well. I come from a super humble, background. But then like you have people like Al and so many other, big insurance, agencies, people who come from big business backgrounds, and they see the value in this opportunity. So I want everyone just to understand that, FFL is a good enough opportunity that we just have to be confident enough in sharing the story. And there's a couple different ways that we can obviously go about, sharing the story. There's warm market. If you guys were at convention, you heard Sean, up on stage many times talk about how really the foundation of this company was built through Sean's warm market. Okay. So these were people that he knew, that some of them were the top car salespeople in the entire region. Some of them were, very successful real estate agents. And some of them, were, people who were just looking for a job, trying to make it happen, who came from blue collar backgrounds, trying to, take care of their kids. But these were people that he knew. One of the easiest conversations that you can have, especially when it comes to building a team, is, talking to the people that you know. Obviously, at a certain point, you're going to run out of people that you know. Okay. So, most of us, I would say that's not going to be the case, because most of us, including myself, are afraid to talk to the people that we know for whatever reason. We just have this weird thing where we put certain people on a chicken list, and it's easier for us to talk to cold market than it is our warm market. But your warm market is someone who trusts you. And typically a warm market, I can typically get to move a little bit faster because they trust me. They're willing to buy leads. They're willing to follow the system. Al, he really is a master of, bringing in that cold market. He understands how to, buy his income and grow his agency through investing into, cold market traffic. But one of the things that Al's really good at is turning his cold market into his warm market. So when that cold market comes in, he's going to help them make money. And when he helps them make money, he builds trust. And as soon as you build trust with someone that you don't know, they become your warm market. And guess what? They have a warm market, and we can talk to all them too. So who do they know? Who do they know? Who do they know? Super simple concept, one of the easiest ways to build your business. And then obviously, cold traffic is just such an easy way to, talk to more people. So, Al, I definitely want to talk a little bit about, your recruiting philosophy. Let's talk a little bit about, I know that you harp on dialing on Sundays for recruits. I'd love to hear your philosophy behind that, why that's so effective for you. And then also I'd love for you to talk about your zip campaigns, what you specifically do, how you sort through them, and just what that initial conversation looks like. I know you're really good at giving people direction. I think that there's some people on here, they've never called a lead of somebody who is looking for, an insurance opportunity, and they need to hear that word track of how they would call that, agent who's interested in Family First Life, or that potential agent.
Yeah. So, I started this whole thing as a side gig. I got two boys and thought it'd be good for them. And then the thing just took off. Right. And so now I'm making more money doing this than I ever made my best year in the other business, which is awesome. Right. So, Andrew just said, hey, look, you got to have a proactive plan for recruiting, and we're buying leads, right? Just like we buy insurance leads. It's no different. Why would I want to cold call? Sean talked today on a call about all these guys that are still calling licensed agents list. Those are completely cold calls. Those are cold calls. I don't make cold calls. I only call or reach out to people that have requested, or that they've filled out an application on ZipRecruiter. They're interested, right? It's not cold. Now we can call it cold, but I call it lukewarm anyway, because they are interested, just like a life insurance lead. They filled out a form and sent it back in, and you're responding to it as an agent. Okay. And so it's just, so what I do is Trey Honeycutt said, look, the idea of the cold market is to get to their warm market. And that's my philosophy here. But the discipline, it's no different than anything else. You got to invest in enough leads. You have to be consistent with making the calls, okay, to the prospects. And so and Jamie mentioned Sundays. When I was in the brokerage business, I worked really hard Monday through Friday at 1:00. The stock market closed at 1:00. I was done. So I had Friday afternoon, all day Saturday, all day Sunday. I didn't work ever. There might have been in decades of work, I probably worked Friday afternoon 5 times. When I came here, the first time I'll never forget, and I made calls for insurance on Friday, and I didn't want to do it, but I did it anyway. And then now I found out Fridays are a great day to call. Okay, so then I started calling on Saturdays and running appointments. Then I ran my first few appointments on Sunday afternoons. And I'm like, I was freaking closed every one of them, because they're people that are work hard. They're home on Sunday afternoons. their people have money because they might have a business, whatever the case may be. My favorite day to run an appointment would be Sunday afternoon. Okay. So I started making calls for the zip ads on Sunday afternoon. I didn't want to make calls on Sunday afternoon, but now I religiously call between 10 and about 2 or 3. Start on the East Coast and move to the West Coast. And it works for me. And I ended up getting my goals to put 5 people in the system at least on a Sunday. If I can do that, but I pound on Sundays for 5 hours straight. I just grind it.
So let's walk through a typical phone call. So this is somebody who, let's say they're unlicensed, and you call them. What does that conversation look like? I mean, are you having like a 30-40 minute conversation with them, or are you having something super quick?
I have a 15, a good question. So that's 15-20 minutes. I do a mini BDA. Okay. So and again, this is the way I do it, guys. Okay. You can do whatever you want, but a lot of recruiters or agents that call will simply talk for like 1 minute, and then they'll send them the rogue IMO. Okay. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with it, but I don't do it that way. At 63, I don't want to hire somebody I don't like. Okay. So I'm going to get to know them. I'm going to interview them right then and there. Hey, Jamie, this is Al. I'm getting back to you about your application that you recently submitted on ZipRecruiter. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. Okay,
cool. So I'm a senior vice president with Family First Life. And what's your story, man? What are you trying to do? Why'd you fill out the application?
I filled it out. I've got a small background in sales. I'm just looking for something that will really help pay the bills, maybe give me a little bit more time freedom. I got a wife and baby at home. Wife recently got laid off from her job, and just trying to replace that income.
Okay. So how long have you been at your current job?
7 years.
Sales? 7 years. Okay. Right on. Okay. Well, let's do this, Jamie. Let's take a couple minutes. I'll give you my background, tell you what I'm looking for, and tell you what tends to work in our model. Does that sound fair?
Yeah, it sounds good.
Okay, cool. So I've got 30 years working as a financial advisor, managing money for retirees and business owners. And I had this vision. I wanted to add an insurance agency. And again, you guys can use your own story, right? Use your own story. It's personable that way. This is my story. And so I had this vision. I wanted to add an insurance agency. After doing a lot of homework and research, I selected Family First Life as the best fit for me. I picked them for 3 reasons. Number 1, super high level of integrity. Number 2, we pay our agents a boatload of money. And number 3, we use a proven lead system. Because when I was back in the day, I had to cold call and door knock businesses. Okay, we don't do that. We only call or reach out to people that have requested information on life insurance. Okay, so it's a warm lead, not a done deal, but a warm lead. Mm-hmm. So really what we do, Jamie, is we basically cover 2 primary product categories. We do lots of what's called final expense insurance, which is basically for older folks that are on a fixed income to cover their burial or cremation costs. That's number 1. Now there's 10,000 baby boomers turning 65 a day in America. That's a fact. So it's a massive market. That was very attractive to me, because if we do run into a recession or something that disrupts the marketplace, then they're on a fixed income and can continue to make their premium payments. Number 2, we do a lot of mortgage protection. These folks are dual breadwinner, so they own a home, and their concern is that one of them doesn't walk in the door one day and now they can't make the house payment. They got to gather the kids and go live in their parents' basement. They obviously don't want to do that because these plans will pay off the house, or at least buy them some time. We're also a broker, which means that we're appointed with multiple big name A-rated carriers. It puts our agents in a very strong position to be the most competitive when we sit down with clients. So all we do now, Jamie, is we call these folks on the phone that have asked for our help. Okay. And typically we can either do one of 2 things. We either go see them in person. Okay. Or what I do, I live here in North Idaho. I just call them on the phone and talk to them that way. And I basically ask them straight up, why did you fill out the request for information on life insurance? And they might say something like, hey man, my dad just died and it was 15 grand to bury him. I had to scrape to come up with the money, and I don't want to leave a bill to my family. Okay, perfect. So then we'll go ahead and ask them a few health questions, and we'll go over their budget. And based on that information, we'll pick the best carrier solution, and then we'll move forward. Now, because Jamie, these these policies are non-medical, which means no blood and urine. It's just a simple prescription background check. These clients are going to get approved right then and there in the majority of the cases, which means that when we walk out the door, hang up the phone, the client's covered and the agent's getting a check deposited in their bank account in 3 or 4 days.
Sounds
Okay.
great. Yeah.
Awesome.
Sounds great.
So let me ask you this, Jamie. What kind of money are you making? What kind of money are you looking to make?
My best year was like 90, but the last couple of years have been like 40. There's a seniority thing when it comes to leads that come in the door. We kind of rotate, and I just kind of got the short end of the stick. But I mean, I'd love to make 250.
Okay, awesome. Well, I like that. So our comp is really high within the industry, and our average agent makes somewhere between $100,000 and $120,000 a year. That's average. Okay. Now, does everybody make that? No. Some people make zero. Some people make $1 million. It's spread out all over the place. Okay. So, no, you're not licensed, you said, right?
No, I'm not licensed.
Okay. So the process would be that we would get you help you in that process to get licensed. You would pay for the license and we would pay for the class itself. Okay. Now we're looking for people, Jamie, that can want to move forward on a full-time or part-time basis. I don't care, but it's your business. Okay. And so we're looking for somebody that can complete that licensing process or class within a 2-week period. Now we've covered a lot of information. Do you have any specific questions, or does this sound like something you'd like to move forward on?
Yeah, I mean, there's some more questions that I could probably come up with. So what does the class entail?
It depends by state. And so certain, like California, you got to have 42 hours. Some other states, it's 20. Let's just say you're in Oregon. I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but you'd have to complete the state requirement. Again, we'll give you a voucher for the online course. You study for about 2 weeks and then go down to the testing center, pass your test. Once you pass your test, we'll move forward and get you appointed with all those various carriers that we spoke about. And then we'll move forward and get you trained and get you some deposits, help some families.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good. What are the next steps?
Next step is I'm going to send you an email with a specific link on where you would go to schedule your test. Okay. Now what I do, guys, is I try to make it simple. Now we've got a new process with Jamie because he's got awesome support staff. Okay. But I was doing this all on my own before. I literally would send them the specific link to the specific state. I'm going to make it as easy as I can. Okay. And then I'm going to say, hey, look, I want you to go ahead and schedule your test date, give yourself about 10 days, 2 weeks max. And then I will give you a voucher for the online class once you give me a test date. Okay. Is that, you got that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, perfect. And then the next thing I'm going to do is after I send the email, I'm going to send you a text. Okay. With my contact information and my Facebook page, because I want you to get on our private group with Family First Life. Are you on Facebook?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook.
Okay, cool. So then I'm going to send you a link to my page. I want you to add me as a friend, and then I can add you into the private group because we do a lot of training via Facebook. Does that sound fair?
It sounds fair.
Okay, cool. Then if you call me, if you have any questions, I've got you locked in my phone, and I'm going to look for my email. Thanks a lot. Have a nice day. I don't know how long that took, but that's generally how my call goes.
Awesome. I love it, man. So, I mean, right at the end, you gave some very specific instructions, like almost like a checklist. Why? I know why, but like, why do you give those specific instructions? What are you really trying to find out about the person when you ask them to do a specific task at the end of the call?
Oh, okay. So during the interview process, and that was an abbreviated probably a little bit to a certain degree, because they may end up asking some more questions, but you want to give them a series of tasks. And then are they going to follow through and do them or not? All right. Because at this stage, you don't want people that are wishy-washy. When I started, it was just try to get as many people as I could. I don't do that anymore. I'm getting people that are serious and that are committed. And so I want to know if I give them a task and then they perform, then I know I've got a strong candidate. Okay. Because you're going to get the whole realm. After I send them, the first thing I do is I put them in my phone. Every single person that I've talked to is in my phone that said, yes, I want to move to the next step. Every single one in the last 4 years. Okay. Then I put them on a spreadsheet. So I have everything that recorded there, including the comp that I'm going to start them at. Because I can't remember everybody. I might start them at 100. I might start them at 110 or whatever the case may be. Okay. And then I'll send them the email, then send them the text. And then what I do is, if I don't hear from them, the ones that are anxious will friend you right away on Facebook, and they'll schedule the test right away and get you the test date. That's great. That's a good sign, right? A lot of them will not. Okay. And then they'll get a text in a day or two. Hey, man, do you have any questions? That's a quick text. Do you have any questions? If they ghost me, then I wait another day. Hey, are you still interested? If they ghost me again, they go into a separate tab on the email, on the spreadsheet that is inactive. It's an inactive tab. I maintain that. I'm glad I did, because I've got probably 2,000 people on that list at least. And they'll come back once in a while. Once in a while, they'll come back, and then I can't remember everybody, but I've got all their information there. Then once they give me a test date, they go to a different tab, and that goes into the school tab. Okay. And then I've got their date there. So then I can drip on them. Hey, man, how's the studying going? Oh, it's going good. Or now maybe they're ghosting me again, right? Because that totally happens. And then once they pass their test, hey, I passed my test, and we go to the next step. Then they go into contracting. Okay. And then they become an active agent. Now, the goal here is, Stephen Yee said one time, look, it's like a carton of milk, okay, with an expiration date. And if you don't get them some deposits, they will expire and the milk's going to go sour. The total key is you have to get them deposits. And that's why I think that this really, we had the live dials before, but we haven't emphasized it with the commitment level that you guys have been doing. And I think that's going to really help, because people are lacking in training and exactly what to do. And so typically what I was doing before was, once they got their license, I was doing a full-on onboarding session, so to speak, where I go through all kinds of junk, from how to do an app to, scripts. And I have a which I don't really need anymore, because we got everything's available. But I had something called a new agent war chest, with literally the scripts on it, the in-home, the financial inventory, all of that stuff, which is all we have available now anyway. So I don't really send that out anymore. And that's about it. And then it's just following, and then you just don't know, but we have to get them deposits. If you don't get them deposits, they're not going to hang out. It's not going to happen.
I love it. Yeah. If we don't get somebody a deposit as soon as possible, they're definitely out of here. So, that's the goal. The goal is to get people through the pipeline. We have people who, they get into HCMS, they create Assurance Bay profile, then, they're waiting for their contracts to come back, and it's all about keeping them engaged. So, if you guys have people you've put into class, we know that this is a big, hurry up and wait, especially when it comes to somebody getting licensed. Someone who's already licensed, they can get through the process quite quickly. If they just get their contracting done in 45 minutes, from the moment you send it to them, it's very quick. They can be selling in a matter of a couple of days. But when you have someone who's unlicensed, they go through the course. Then they go and they pass their exam, and they're waiting on fingerprints and licensing. And then at that point, they get their license back, they submit a contract. So someone who moves fast, I passed my exam in 6 days. It took me about 3 to 4 weeks to actually get out there in the field, and that was moving quick. So it's important to continue to drip on people and just make sure they're still engaged. So what's an easy way to drip on people? Send them this call, send them Grady's call. When a new YouTube video comes out, send them through that. Make sure they're going through boot camp during their contracting process.
Right.
Don't, have them wait until they get their contracts back to start boot camp. It's there's this perfect little waiting period where it's as soon as they pass their exam and they submit for their license, through the moment they get their national producer number, submit for contracting, it's the perfect amount of time for them to go through class.
Yeah, they can. That's a great time to go through boot camp. And then I'm also sending them fflvirtualsales.com, because these days most people are probably going to incorporate virtual sales to some degree, and all the stuff's on there. So yeah, we got to get them deposits. Answer your phone, right? So and I see a couple questions here. I can address those real quick. So I currently have 50 spots on ZipRecruiter. Cost me about $3,000 a month. That's the current rate. We're working on trying to get a better deal. That's what it is right now. Zip has been great for me. Not everybody likes it, but it works for me. One of the downsides is every once in a while, they'll jack up the price. And all of a sudden you're getting a 20% or a 50% increase. So the price has gone up, but it is what it is. They're leads. Okay. It's a lead-based system for what I use as far as recruiting. So out of 50, I had 100 spots at one point. I could not keep up. Couldn't keep up. There's tons and tons of leads. So 50 for me, and trying to help 20 or 30 families a month and manage 200 agents. I mean, because again, we have 60, 70 writing agents, but we all know that you can probably multiply that times 3 as an example, we average 60, just so you know, you guys may not know this number or ratio, is that we had 215 agents write at least one piece of business last year. And we averaged about 60. So that's probably fair, common for the whole firm even. So,
I would even say that's fairly. I would even say that's fairly high, because I know conversion rate is something that FFL is, really trying to work on. So I mean, that puts you around, 25, 30%, which is definitely towards the higher end of conversion, which means that, I mean, you're following up with your people. And I think this is a kind of a good transition, and we will answer some of those questions in the chat. So we will come back to those. But okay, I think one of the easiest ways to convert somebody from a licensed agent to selling a policy is as quickly as possible getting them to buy leads. Okay. So I'd love to hear your conversation with them on leads, whether it's that initial phone call or it's this now follow-up phone call, because guys, when we get them to spend their own money and purchase leads, they have skin in the game. And when you have skin in the game, you're typically going to go to work. If you haven't purchased leads, you probably won't work. Yeah.
So I don't hang up the phone anymore without having that conversation. I didn't do that in the role play, just the way it worked out, but I do not hang up the phone anymore without having a conversation about the leads. There's no sense in that'd be like writing an insurance policy and not telling them how much it's going to cost. That's just like stupid. So I tell them, look, I'll ask them, ask lots of questions in the interview, just like you would whether you're selling insurance. What's your financial position? Well, I'm okay. Well, what's okay? Well, I could probably invest in, you understand this is a lead-based business, right? Okay. We've already maybe discussed that portion of it. Anymore, I tell people they got to come in with 1,500. There's a certain amount of cost that's going to cover for the licensing, E&O insurance and all that. You've got to come in with at least $1,000 worth of capital. And then I will tend to give them an example. So I got a guy that was a sales manager making really, really good money in the car business. I said, well, let's say, because you're good at it, you've been in the business forever, you wanted to start your own car lot. How much is that going to cost? You got to lease the corner lot. And let's just say you start with 10 cars at 10 grand a piece. That's $100,000. And your rate of return on a car is what? 15, 20%. And when you sell a car, you got to go, let's say you sell 2 cars in 1 week and you got to go buy 2 new cars to replace it. It's no different here. Or a pizza restaurant, 15, 20%. For the most part, that's what you're looking at on a normal business. Here, the average rate of return is somewhere between 300 and 500%. My average rate of returns, and this is accurate because I'm stupid anal when it comes to the math stuff, is that I can tell you that my rate of return for the last 3 months on leads for insurance is 358%. Okay, that's mine. Some people can get 500, okay, or 600 or 700. Nats is 428%. Nat DiCarlo, and he helped 60 families last month. Okay, he spends $14,000 a month on leads. Okay, and writes, helps 60 families. All right, so that's a pretty good ratio. Okay, but I have to tell them up front. So you mean I got to buy leads? Yes, this is a lead-based business. Okay, there's different models in this industry. The model that I started with, where you go talk to all your family and friends and get referrals, nothing wrong with that, but you will run out of people to talk to, and Thanksgiving gets super uncomfortable. Okay, the second model is that they'll give you some leads, but the comp's really low also. Okay. But the leads are turned over. They're tired. Okay. Or there's our model where we pay you super high comp. Okay. But you've got to invest in leads, just like the two examples I give you, like any business. Okay. So if you invest $1,000 in leads, and theoretically you go make $3,000, then you shouldn't have to continue to reinvest on it forever, right? Because you're just putting money back in every week to invest. Like any business, you have to invest. But and it's really important, Jamie, that you understand this is a lead-based business and you have to put up the capital to make this work. Are you okay with that?
Yes, I'm okay with that.
Okay. And some will say, no, I only have $200. And then if they say I only have $200 or $300, I'll tell them, look, I'll work with you, but you got to go find $1,000 and you come back to me. I don't let them start unless they got $1,000.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I totally understand that. I mean, some of these people who say they only have $200 to $300, they also, have the newest iPhone. And
Correct.
they're making 3, 4, 5 grand a month at their current job. Some maybe not. Some are in tough positions. And you have people that you'll learn their character, and people that you want to help out who's in a tough situation. But it's rare that you really want to go ahead and just buy somebody leads. For me, sometimes I'll match somebody's lead purchase. It's rare, but it's someone who's like, hey, listen, I legit can only come up with $600. And I'm like, okay, gotcha. So here, and it's someone who I maybe believe in them. I maybe want to add an extra 300, 400 onto their lead purchase. That's totally your prerogative. Sometimes people, you buy them leads, they don't dial them. And it's a waste of money. Other times, they go and they crush it, and it's a fantastic investment. You kind of have to use your best judgment. But one of the conversations that I have, and this is something that our office does. Jennifer, our recruiter, she does this. She asks 2 questions. 1, are you comfortable buying leads? And 2, are you comfortable being an independent 1099 contractor? If you're not comfortable with either of those 2 things, this is not going to be a good fit for you. I think it's just important to make sure that's super, super clear. This is a business. You are an independent 1099 contractor. You're plugging into a system. We're helping you start basically your own franchise, and you can plug into our proven system. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to, hold your hand and be your boss. I'm going to set you up for success. But at the end of the day, you have to learn to be your own boss. You have to learn how to, motivate yourself to drive success in this business. And you have to be willing to obviously invest into leads. The conversation that I typically have about leads, I remember I heard from Jordan Lowry back when I first started. He described it like blackjack when you go to the casino. If I walk into the casino and I've got $100 and I play and I win, and I turn that $100 into $200, what do? I put the original $100 that I came in with back in my pocket, and now I'm playing with house money. And my goal is I'm going to keep going. And my goal is to not dip back into my pocket. My goal is to only play with house money. So, my perspective is, when I first got started, I invested, $1,500 into leads. And that is the only investment I've ever made into my business, which is crazy. It's crazy to think that a $1,500 investment, and I worked the crap out of my leads, turned into, what it turned into when I went out in the field for the first time. And then I reinvested it back into the business. And maybe it takes you, more than one, lead purchase. But the craziest part about this is that if I get, 100 to 150 leads for, $1,000 to $1,500, if I sell 1 or 2 and our average commission, is about $1,000, I can break even. And if you're in this, and this is another conversation, and I say, wouldn't you agree that out of 150 leads, if you can't sell 2, this probably isn't a good fit for you? Yeah, you're probably right. It's probably not a good fit for me. Perfect. Okay. As long as we have that understanding, there's another conversation that, I'll kind of touch on before we move into some sales side of things. Somebody who wants to come in and they want to immediately go full-time and they want to quit their job. So if somebody wants to quit their job, I have a very serious conversation with that person. And, Al talked about, hey, what's your financial situation? No, seriously, what's your financial situation? How much money do you make per month? What do you need to replace? How many months worth of income do you have in the bank? Because I'm not going to be responsible for you coming here, quitting your job, going into this full time, not understanding what the expectations are, and then being mad at us because you didn't put in the work, and you feel like you're out a lead purchase because you didn't dial the phone. So I need to know exactly where you're at. So somebody says, hey, I make $4,000 a month. I need to replace $4,000 a month. Got it. You need to sell about 7, 8 policies a month to replace that income. Let's make it 10 or 12. Obviously, once we take lead purchases and chargebacks out of it. So 10 to 12 policies a month, that's 2 or 3 a week. 2 or 3 policies a week. It's nothing crazy. You can replace that income, after lead purchase as well as chargebacks. How many months of expenses do you have in the bank? I don't have any months of expenses in the bank. Got it. Okay. So you need to make money like right now. Yeah, I need to make money right now. Got it. Okay. So I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to do to make money right now. Like, are you willing to follow that system? Because if you're not willing to follow that system and after 30 days, this isn't working out, can we agree that you're going to go back and you're going to find a job? And that's a conversation I have with people. I tell them, hey, if this isn't working for you in 30 days because you need to make this work, can we agree that you're going to go back and find a job if you haven't figured this out? If you haven't been able to help, 4 families out of 100 leads in your first month, you're going to have to go back to your job. So it's just important to have this conversation with people. The way that we don't recruit, guys, is we don't recruit, hey, anybody can do this. This is so easy. All you have to do is just come in and everybody answers. And, it's so easy, because we all know that's not the reality. This is a commission-based sales opportunity, and commission-based sales is not for everybody. This is an emotional roller coaster. And I truly believe that anybody could do this, but not everybody will do this. Some people, they come here and they ride the emotional roller coaster and they get sick and they get hurt.
Well, the other thing too, Jamie, is that they might ask, well, had a guy ask today, he goes, I heard that only 5% of the people make it. And I said, no, I don't think it's that low. It's probably 30%. I don't know what it is, but it's probably closer to 30%. But what characteristics are there that when somebody makes it or doesn't make it? Part of the reason for asking those multiple questions, again, no different than if you're in the house selling life insurance, you have to ask a lot of questions, right? And giving them the task, because what are you trying to do? You're trying to find out how coachable they are, right? That right there is the whole key. I can't work with somebody that's not coachable. Okay. All the guys on my team they're very coachable. I love them. They're such a pleasure to work with. Okay. They've got a good attitude and they work hard. Okay. That's the other thing. So how come somebody doesn't make it here, Al? Well, because they're not coachable, or they don't work hard, or they quit too early. They literally quit too early. They don't give themselves enough chances. So if we're talking about leads, one of the analogies I give is making free throws. There's 2 lines. One with, you have to make 5 baskets, okay, to win $10,000. There's one line that has 10 balls in it and another line that has 50 in it. You have to make 5. Which line are you getting in? Well, I'm getting in the line with 50 because I got more chances, buy more leads. Okay, that's the whole key to this thing. Nat DiCarlo, I sincerely believe that he might be the hardest working person we have in the entire company next to Sean Mike. I'm like totally believe that. Okay, the guy's a beast, but he helped 60 families, and he's very competitive. He'll go, man, I'm just get my butt beat. So then he'll send me a text of the receipt of all these new leads he bought. He just goes all in more, right? And he wasn't complaining at all. Today I talked to him. He goes, dude, I've just had 10 days this last week. I'm just getting killed. Of course, right before we come on here, he helped 6 families tonight. It changes in a heartbeat, guys. It's the consistency. And again, it applies to the recruiting. Okay, one of the questions on here, no, I don't just call Sundays. Every appointment that I have on my schedule, there are some no-shows. So what do? Okay, no-show, boom, 5 minutes over, boom, straight to zip. Now I'm going through and making calls on the zip. So I can feed in on 2 or 3 no-shows in a day, because that's probably typical, a ton of calls. Okay, and I'm either making those calls or I am dishing out some of those leads to some of my agents also. I mean, all of my agents have hired people from stuff that I've sent them. Mm-hmm. Okay. So yeah, I'm recruiting or doing that all day. I work really hard. Okay. I'm tired at night. Okay. Yesterday, I couldn't even finish the Super Bowl. I was literally out of gas and I fell asleep. So I'm up early like Jamie, and I go hard, man. And right
Yeah.
now we got a season, and I'm going to go 7 days until I get this till I'm done. Winners go for as long as they need to go. Okay. Some people can go for a few weeks or months. Some people can go for a couple of years. Winners keep going until the job gets done. That's just the way it works.
I love it, man. So a couple of questions, and we'll kind of round this thing out. So what is the value behind selling and recruiting at the same time? So for somebody who says, I want to come in here and I just want to recruit, I want to earn spread, versus somebody who says, I'm going to sell and recruit at the same time, what's the difference of experience that those two people are going to have?
Well, I don't know anybody that's had any success doing that. And that person has to come in with a bunch of money, and that's fine. Okay. Cause we have 1 or 2 or 3, but all 3 or 4 of the people that I know that are doing that have life insurance sales experience. Okay. Nobody, I don't believe, can come in here and do it without any experience. But the bottom line is, it's like, hey, I won the Super Bowl 5 years ago. Nobody cares. They just don't care. Okay. So when I had that epiphany this last fall or late summer, I basically said, hey, look, Nina and Hayden, Josh and Alondra, Gabe and Michaela, Stephen Yee, they're all leading from the front. They were all right, 30, 40, 50 grand a month on their own pen. And I'm like, dude, I wanted to do it just because I wanted to be able to say I can do it. Okay. I'm not dead yet. I'm 63. We don't have many people that are my age doing it, but how cool would it be if I could front run and show some of these older folks that it can be done? To me, that would be awesome. Okay. And so I got beat up the first month. I lost money on the leads. Second month, I doubled my money. And every month thereafter, I'm at about a 350% rate of return on the leads. You have to lead from the front, because this business with the leaderboards, just like it was at Smith Barney, every single day they would produce the commission report. And every month they would produce the commission report. Every month. So you knew who did the most and you knew who did the least. It's scoreboard. There's a reason there's a scoreboard. There's a reason. Okay. And that key word that correlates with that is respect. Okay. How are your agents going to respect you if they don't think you work? Okay. And that you're leading from the front. They want to know that you're in the game. Okay. Just like a general or a sergeant or whatever in the Army. Okay. They want to know that you got their back. They want to know, just like that one war movie with Mel Gibson, where he's the first one off the helicopter, last one off the helicopter, or last one off the field. Right. They want to know that you got their back.
1000%, man.
Simple as that.
One of my favorite people that I study, ironically, is a guy named General Patton. Famous general in the past. I love all of his.
Dude, I could do the speech right now.
I love it. And one of the things that he says, your platoon is like a wet piece of spaghetti. You can't push it from behind. You have to pull it from the front.
Yeah. So you can play let's pretend all you want, but it is what it is. And so anyway, I hadn't done that for a year. I moved up here and thought, and there's no other choice. So I made a decision. It's a choice. It is a choice whether you want to do it. It's about making a commitment to buy leads and get on the phone and get after it and figure it out.
So my last question for you, Alan, we'll kind of wrap this up, is like, we understand, how you're recruiting. We understand, when you're recruiting, but why are you recruiting? Because obviously you can make a incredible living selling insurance. And, obviously we're building agencies here, but like, what's that light at the end of the tunnel? Like like, obviously we want to share this opportunity with people. We want to, spread this incredible information and this skill set and teach people how to create financial freedom for themselves. But why are you so passionate about sharing this opportunity?
So for me personally, everybody has their own reason. For me personally, at my stage in my career, I have two people on my team that were homeless, living out of their car. Okay. And if I can just be a little bit of a catalyst, because it's not me, they do it. They're the ones that are going to do it or choose to do it. Right. But if I can help guide them, point them in the right direction to where they can change their story for their whole family for generations, that turns me on. Okay, for me. Okay, so I want a whole bunch of VPs and I want a whole bunch of people at 145. Okay, and then their choice whether they want to deal with integrity or not. But there's an awful lot of opportunity when you get to that level and you're helping 1,000 families a month, then you can chart your own course, okay, and change your family story. Okay, that's important to me.
Love it, man. Thank you so much for sharing. I appreciate you, and we're going to go ahead and just stop the recording right now.